stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any public comment? Hearing none. Adam?
Well, my July report's in front of you. We had a pretty busy month, and yet, take into our 911 plus all our transfers, we were sitting about 320 calls per month. So averaged out about 10 a day. Some days, I think our busiest day of the month was 23. Our record's 24 at a 24-hour period, so we came up on the record. But the rest of the numbers, all the times are well within standard. Our classes for the month are way down. We didn't have very many classes, but we're going to pick that back up. We got high school starting up here again, so we've got a full EMT and EMR class. Pretty busy month for PRs as well, and our intercept/mutual aids were a little higher than normal. That takes into account Marshall, Chrisman, occasionally maybe Kansas, but usually if it's Chrisman, it's because they're already out on a call, and we're just Pleasant Meadows likes to send 2 or 3 at a time sometimes. Second page is all our destinations, but down at the bottom we have my chest compression fraction percentage and our 12 lead time. Our 12 lead acquisition time are both. My chest compression fraction is great. My 12 lead time, I would love to see 100%, but I know that's optimistic, so 82 is still pretty good. We did achieve Mission Lifeline, which is a national recognition. We're going to be celebrating that at our staff meeting later this week. Questions, comments, concerns for me?
What's the 50 at the top? Doesn't have a, says 50, 21, 28%.
Those are probably our refusals, so the ones we didn't transport anywhere.
Okay.
They updated the system and it makes my report. Used to I could run everything in one report and it was nice and pretty. Now I've got to pull about 7 different reports to get all my information, and that is just, when they change the coding out, the way the report runs out, it doesn't tag it anymore.
All right, thank you.
I'll let Jeremy go, but I also do have a 911 piece I'd like to share.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
I sent my report to Augie. I don't know if you got it or not, but July, unlike Adam, we were a little bit slower, so the times are good. Right now, looking at August, we're almost what we had all of July, so. But other than that, things are going well. Appreciate Adam sending up crews for intercepts and when we're already out, so it's. Any questions?
Adam, go ahead on the 911 stuff.
Well, I think we've talked before, 911 is looking at the next 5 years into budgetary time. I know you guys are coming up on budget, so just wanted to put a bug in the ear. That's maybe an unpopular opinion to some. With the new public safety center, dispatch is going to have to move, which is going to incur cost for 911. Cost that hasn't been budgeted for previously. We've had to upgrade a lot of equipment due to end of life. Unfortunately, all the repeaters on the towers are coming up on end of life. We're looking to do some simulcast and eventually switch to digital, hopefully by 2030. Right now, our issue is the southern part of the county with Vermilion, Oliver, and Kansas. We're trying to figure out a solution, probably adding another tower site down there somewhere. What I'm going to ask the board to consider is the public safety tax money so far. Whenever the referendum was put on the ballot, the referendum did not read that it was for the building of a new jail. It just did not read that way. I understand there were meetings had that was going to be the goal, and I fully understand that there's a bond payment that has to be made out of that with the public safety center. With the public safety tax, the county's responsibility for public safety is the sheriff's department, courthouse security, ESDA, and 911. In my opinion, that public safety tax should be funding, or at least partially helping all of those agencies. What I'm going to ask for you to consider for next budget season is for 7%, basically 14% of that public safety tax, 7% go to 911 and 7% go to ESDA. which would leave enough for your bond payment plus to subsidize the sheriff's department. Right now, I can tell you our ESDA services, money hasn't been spent there in quite a long time. We need to upgrade a lot of equipment. If this county has a disaster, we are gonna be kind of left in the dark for a little bit. So with that 7%, that would give each agency about $100,000 a year in additional revenue. That could go a long way in upgrading and keeping our equipment for both 911 and ESDA to where it needs to be. So, again, just my personal opinion. I've talked to some others that share my opinion as well, but I would like the board to consider that, if you would, please.
Anything else, Adam?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Andy? Anything?
No, I mean, we got, I haven't been up to see if Jason started, but we kind of agreed that he gave us a price to put the drains around the courthouse. Not to exceed 30.
Right.
So he said between 27 and 30,000, somewhere in there.
No wonder he hadn't been to my house.
Huh?
He's got a job at my house he's got to do. He hadn't been there for a month.
Well, don't let him get this done.
Well, I'm not gonna say so, and he's gonna do what he wants.
Would that be put out on bid?
Huh?
Would that be put out on the bid?
No, we'd go, but he said it'd be less than 30, so 30 or not to exceed 30, so.
29.9.
And it's kind of a time constraint there. He needs to get that done so the Voices can get in and do their concrete repair. We had a meeting with Core the other day. Do we want to say anything about it?
Go ahead.
And really discussed some of the issues that we've had with knowing at what percentage we are. Wouldn't you say that's what percentage we are at the courthouse, and how what we paid quite a bit of money, but at times we weren't exactly sure what Michael, the architect, wasn't quite sure what. They sent us a bill that really didn't have it broke down like it should have been. Now, we've got Core out here, and the guy that's in charge of that seems to be doing a really good job. I mean, he's got a spreadsheet, and he says when you spend this or you don't spend this, it will be categorized each month, and you'll know exactly where you are all the time, which I just felt like we weren't. There were times we didn't know exactly where we were at the courthouse, so.
And we brought those concerns to the company. We had a Zoom call with the president, vice president, and told them our concerns, and they understand that, and they're working this week to come up with information for us. And there's a meeting later this month sometime that they're going to come down and talk. But as far as Jason with
Great.
we've been waiting for a while to try to get someone up there with cameras to go in and look at the current tile system around the base of the courthouse. And Jason was there a week or two ago and found out there's a lot of issues, which we figured there probably was, but we wanted to actually go in with a camera to see. And there's a lot of the tile system that's plugged up. There's a lot of places the old clay tile is broke down. So it's basically beyond repair. So Jason has come up with an idea to do things a little different. Instead of something at the base of the courthouse, 5-6 feet down the ground. Because most of our problem is the water coming off the roof. You know, and with the downspouts, it just puts it 10 feet away from the building. It still somewhat sits there. So we're talking about making, he's going to use PVC pipe to go around and hook the drain or the downspouts that come off of the roof into that and get it out past the circle. So the outlet won't be 10 feet from the building. It'll be 50, 60, 70 feet past on the outside of the circle with the water. So everybody felt like that was the best way to handle that. So we're waiting on him to get that done, and then Voices can come in and fix all the problems that the construction people did with the concrete and the lighting and all that. So, and that's still, we're working with Core to come up with who's gonna actually pay for some of those damages. We don't feel like it's our responsibility. It was carelessness on the contractors.
We've got a contingency built in, but I think they went beyond what their
Yeah.
contingency is intended to be.
What about the broken window way up the top? Can that be fixed from the inside?
I think that, is that what it is?
Ray's doing
Ray's-
Symington
Yeah.
Okay.
to fix that.
And then there was an email about the steps around the courthouse. The estimate was $89,000.
Right.
That'd have to be put on bid, right? You just kept saying, company do it. It'd have to be put on bid.
No,
Why?
it can be considered part of what they're doing now.
That doesn't make sense.
Well,
I don't know that much about
There
that.
was an email,
I haven't seen the
I
email.
read the email about the steps.
And that it didn't include the concrete work that would have to be done to
Right.
remove, yeah.
Well, you know, we don't know for sure. I guess we gotta see if we've got enough money to.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
You know,
That's what I'm
to
saying.
do that project,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
that's why part of what Core's supposedly coming up with, to see where we actually are. Because there's a question on it.
Is that for every door at the courthouse, since we're gonna use mainly on one door, right?
Those are not those steps.
Or,
What you're talking about is the steps on the outside, the
Right.
circle.
Right.
There's 7 of them.
to the doors, the steps to the
No,
doors?
no.
Steps
You know where the circle is?
Yeah.
they don't necessarily line
The
up.
concrete circle?
Oh, okay.
Okay, right beside that circle, on the outside of that circle is those steps going down, going out to each corner and to the war memorial and stuff. That's where,
89,000 to repair those?
Go look at them.
yeah,
Well,
it's
still.
pretty bad shape.
They're pretty bad
Seems like
shape.
they're-
There's a lot of, I mean, you gotta lift off that big top stone lintel, and then rebuild the pillars, and then reset that big lintel back on top. And
Some of us are gonna need some new stone as well, aren't
I'm
Looked
not
like
sure
there
what
were a
they'll
few
do
that were kind of-
that are cracked.
Mhm.
I don't know whether they'll take and, like, put a bed of sand or something under there and set those off. I don't know. When they get, I mean, they gave us a price to do it, but I do wanna know how they're gonna, I would like to try to save those, and I don't know if you can. You know, whether you could grind it and put a flexible mortar in there, I don't know. But I'd like to say if it's possible, because those are limestone steps. And even the ones that aren't cracked, they're kind of cupped.
Any other questions
I have another, but
on the courthouse?
no.
Well, go ahead. if you
Well,
have-
I can wait.
Okay,
Wait till the end, because there'll be probably a lot of controversy, so.
okay.
Has to do
Andy,
with the jail.
okay, one of the things that's on our agenda for Wednesday is on the Blue Cross Blue Shield. You want to talk about that? Rates, I don't know whether everybody's aware of.
How much to go up this time? Mine went up. Watch went up. Yeah.
It was 10 points. Initially, their initial was 20, over 20%,
More, close to 30.
was it 30?
Yeah.
And we went back to the company and talked to them and see if they could lower it, and they got basically down to 10.7.
About what my wife says.
Yeah.
Blue Cross Blue Shield.
That's ridiculous.
I asked him, I said, you know, Health Alliance is big in this area. He said they still, that's the best price that they can get.
I know, it's ridiculous.
It is. But
It's even worse than Indiana.
it's worse in Indiana.
Blue Cross Blue Shield in Indiana is worse than the law.
It's evidently
They don't negotiate.
something, what do they call that?
Ridiculous.
They could charge based on what they're,
Well,
But we didn't have that much turned in for people that. were
Evidently,
sick or something.
yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
We did?
And it was-
That's a
I
lot.
know we had
That's
a
a lot.
cancer patient one time, that's the reason why it went up, but I don't remember anybody
The
really sick.
the last few years are, I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, I know.
Something factor is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Factor.
think, yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't that many claims basically, and we, for 2 or 3 years, basically,
But last
very
year it
little,
was.
very little increase. But there, this year, past history, this past year was quite a bit, and that's something to do with
Yeah, I
the
know.
raise. I don't understand how that all
Still
works.
ridiculous.
So, Mr. Brenner, you have anything?
Yeah, I stopped at the shelter last week, they're full. Haven't got rid of very many dogs. They did get the cages, almost all of them repaired. I think the air conditioning, I think they're still working on that. Gotta replace the one in the main part where most of the animals are. She got the hairless cat back again. That's about 4 times. Somebody will take it home, they'll keep it one day. Not, you can't pick it up, it's not very friendly, it bites everybody. So she got it back in the place again, so.
You don't take that one home.
Yeah, one bites anyway.
Only have 2, what's the difference, man?
We did have 2 kittens out there, and I did have a friend that wanted a kitten, so I got one of the kittens, adopted out, so. It's, well, you know, talk to your sister on how busy they are out there, so. She's still trying to build some more cages, I don't know if she's gonna get that done or not, but she does a great job for what's out there, so. She does have Linda, and then she has the other guy, and then she has a lot of volunteers anymore too, which really helps. And something about the art center, art club's gonna have a project to raise some money or something. She was talking about that the other day too. So, other than that, I mean, it's just, I mean, everybody has a pup gets to be an adult dog, don't like adult dogs, so they bring them out and drop them off. Yeah, it's amazing.
How do you do that?
I don't know about the ESDA building, I didn't talk to her about that, about taking it over, because I don't think she has a student yet from U of I that could come down and do the spaying and the neutering, so that's probably on hold right now, so. But she did get an email from U of I about the possibility of sending a student down to do the neutering and the spaying, which would help a lot, so save money anyway, so. But she does a great job, I'll say that for her. You hear her comments on those, so.
You said you had a question about the jail?
Yeah, I got stopped by Pinkston. My problem is I'm around town too much. You know, the restaurants,
Stay
Walmart,
Just stay your ass
church.
home.
I always get stopped. They
Well,
stop
there's
me.
nothing wrong with that. You hear what people's concerns
Yeah, I know.
doing that.
He stopped me the other day and he said, the board is unhappy with the cost of the building permit. He said it was $19,000 for the building permit. Is that true? We have the building permit on.
Yeah, I
And
don't know
called
the
Jeff.
exact, I heard it was, the figure that I heard was high. I don't know whether it was 19, but I thought, man,
He said 19. I called Jeff the other day. Jeff says either 9 or 19.
okay, I was thinking I heard 9 earlier, but,
Pinkston said 19, and he's the one that has his name on the building permit.
all right.
But that seems awful high. I don't know, what's the building permit based on, the size of the building or something, or what?
I have no idea.
$19,000? I don't know, but even 9 would be high. But 19, that's what Pinkston says.
So you asked him what it
No,
was?
he jumped me. He jumped me. He said one board member was really upset because the county had to pay $19,000 for a building permit for the jail. I'm not gonna mention the board member, but he said one board member was upset about it.
One of these guys?
Huh?
One of us.
Uh-huh.
Okay, which one of you rats is it?
But he did say 19,000. He
Well-
said one board member was upset because it was so high.
Well,
Well, nobody would like it, who would like it?
right.
Pretty high.
Yeah, it is. That's what I'm
I'd say
saying.
no, I'd say no,
I can't
so happy
believe.
with
Yeah.
it.
I mean, it's gonna be an asset to the city and the county. Why would they charge $19,000 for a
Because they
building
can.
permit to build a jail? I mean, it doesn't, that's just, I don't know.
Well, we have to take their prisoners, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It
But-
doesn't make sense. Why?
But can we charge them to?
Yeah, charge the city so much. But that, I just saw it bringing it up because
Okay.
I get jumped all the time for all this
So
crap.
maybe the mayor needs a new fence around his new house.
Huh?
The mayor needs a new
We
fence.
need, we'll find out what that,
Yeah.
well,
Okay.
if Irv ought to know, you know, he's,
Oh, yeah,
He's,
yeah. His
the guy in
name's on the
charge,
building
but-
permit, his name's out there on
I
there.
don't know why, I mean, I don't know
That's
what
why
a
she said-
normal.
he said
dozen
one board
permit
member-
is.
Well, with those
Well, he said the
based on
board was upset about it.
Well,
This board,
Yeah.
we need to, we'll look into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right. I
Russ,
just, I think
Have anything more?
how would he know this board would be upset about
He
something?
said somebody on the board jumped him about it.
Somebody, okay, not
Yeah.
people. I didn't.
No, he
jump
said,
up.
he
I
said
couldn't
somebody
get out of
jumped him about
suntan
the
booth.
cost of
Okay.
the building permit. Another thing, we should mark the, street off out here from Board's clubhouse to the jail, so they can walk across there without getting run over. When they have their big parties at.
Okay. Coach, you have anything?
Don't put that in the paper. Don't put it in the paper.
Lisa?
I'm done.
It's your chance, go get him.
Just waiting. Jeff and I have had a couple of calls, we just meet at his house, to talk with a consultant about strategic planning. And not that I cared in the least, but I just greatly offended her the other day because I can do what she was gonna do. You know, done strategic planning before. And the key is getting the right people in on the discussion and having the right questions to discuss. And it's not rocket science. She would have made a pretty package, which I'm not gonna do. But Jeff and I talked about it, and we'll talk about it some more. But we have quarterly meetings set up with elected officials and department heads, and we also do include quite a few other staff from departments. And strategic plan, so that, you know, by definition, it's looking into the future and how do we want to try to plan for it. One, see what roadblocks, what opportunities, what obstacles. And so we gotta identify them, and then we wanna talk about how we're gonna deal with it, and do we have a big plan? Now, the challenge for me is, I've done it with education, I've done it corporate, but doing it with the government is different. Because there's no place where you have less control than in government. So, you know, but ultimately, you're looking at income and how do you deal with the income that you have without raising taxes, and looking at a changing workforce, because as we all know, today's incoming and younger part of the workforce is different than the older part. And where do we want to go with it? What is within our control, considering we have so many state and federal laws that come down and affect us and drive us? What is within our control? So these are just some of the questions, and I want to just introduce one question at a time, give it in advance. There's a subset that's kind of stated that they would be willing to help develop our agenda so that it isn't a free-for-all, because, you know, a good meeting shouldn't last more than about an hour. And have that group do some of this conversation in advance so that we're a little more prepared for the meeting. And the meetings are quarterly. Now, they could be more than quarterly if the team wants them, but that's how we're set up at the moment. So, you know, we've talked about there's going to be turnover, as there always is on county boards, if not every election, then every 2 or 3 elections. And so how do we develop a structure and a framework that kind of minimizes or gives a new board guidance, so that every time you get somebody new, whether it's the board chair or the members, that you aren't starting from scratch? And, you know, we've batted around having an administrator. Do you need what would an administrator do, and what would that administrator's role be? So I think these are all questions that we don't need to pay somebody. We just need to make sure we're asking the right questions. So Jeff and I and Carl attends those meetings as well. We really do need to take a look at that, and we'll have some turnover this time, next time around, and of course it could happen in any election. have some changes in who elected officials are too. So the more structure, the more framework we can have in place, the smoother some of those transitions should be. So that's what I've been working on. I haven't done any other meetings since last study session. And that's really quite a lot right there.
Anything else, Lisa?
Nope.
Okay. Looking at the agenda, we approved group health insurance for Blue Cross. The county clerk to advertise bidding out the audit for next year. I don't think the last 2 or 3 years it's been the same company. I don't think it's been bid out, but we're going to bid it out this time.
About what, 30,000 for the audit? Something like that, I think. Remember figure around 30 for the audit.
There's 2 memorandum of understandings with the sheriff's department. One is the field training officer. They've got 2 certified training officers. They've never utilized them in the past, but they just recently hired a new deputy. I think he had 4 or 5 years of previous experience in law enforcement in Indiana, but he's going through the training program currently. So they approached us to, I guess, basically if the field training officer is training someone, they wanted extra compensation. They gave us a proposal which involved 3 hours of overtime pay for every day that they do it, which we disagreed with that. We offered $1 per hour for that officer, the field training officer, while he's doing training. And they agreed to that, but in our packet, everybody's packet, this memorandum of understanding is the one that they proposed. This isn't the one that we all agreed on.
So we need to get that changed.
Something, I don't know, I'll talk to Augie tomorrow and see if maybe he has the one that we agreed to. So we'll have that on Wednesday when we get together.
Do we need to get that from Rick? Was Rick,
Well, he was the one that
that's,
was,
yeah.
so I don't know whether Augie
Has it or not? Okay.
miscommunication or what, but he was going to make the changes. Most of it's correct, it's just the amount of pay is incorrect, so we need to figure that out. And then there's a memorandum of understanding for the telecommunicators, dispatchers. A couple months ago, we hired a 6th dispatcher because there was 3, on the weekend, there's 3 open shifts, and it was being filled with the current dispatchers, but it was at overtime pay. So we agreed to hire the 6th dispatcher to help fill in a lot of the open shifts. And this is a memorandum of understanding that they've been trying for 2 months to get done, finally got it done. And there's a copy of that in there, and we have to see if we agree to that on Wednesday.
So I have a question on the deputy one. Granted, you want somebody who's qualified to train other people. What have they been doing currently?
Well, seems like as long as I can remember, most of the deputies that have been hired over the last 10, 20 years, they've all had experience. I think in the current administration, he's hired 3 deputies. I mean, 2 of those came from the city police, Paris police. They were already certified officers, had experience. So basically, in the past, they just said, there you go. They didn't really get that much training. I mean, they were already trained officers anyway, but they didn't get, I guess, specific training to policies and procedures of the Edgar County Sheriff's Department. So in our discussion the other day, even though this new guy had 4+ years of experience in Indiana, he isn't familiar with all the ins and outs with the Edgar County Sheriff's Department. So they felt like that he needed to go through some type of, maybe not as extensive as someone coming fresh off the street. But in the past, they didn't really get that any training. So from now and in the future, the plan is that even experience or no experience, they go through some type of training program based on how much they feel like they need to learn the ropes of our department.
Well, that seems pretty logical.
Right.
Yeah, but I think it's needed.
It sounds like it's been a hole,
Yeah,
yeah.
that did to me too.
Yeah, I was telling them the other day at the meeting, back in '79, when I was hired at the Sheriff's Department, I went through the 6-week training period up at Champaign. The next week, I was on midnight shift working by myself. That was it. I mean, there was no training. There you go.
There's your car.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
So,
Don't wreck it.
obviously, things have changed over the years,
Sure. I
but-
find it interesting that that has to be a different person than the sheriff or the chief deputy. Not saying it's not, there aren't others that might be better at it, but it just seems like that we would already have that built into one of their responsibilities.
Is Shiloh still looking for a resource officer since there's quit went somewhere else? I talked to Aaron, he didn't seem like they were looking for Aaron Richardson. But the one they had went to Douglas County.
Correct, yeah.
He didn't say anything about looking for another.
I brought that up the other day at our sheriff's meeting, and I asked if they had someone in mind, and they said, well, they've got a couple of people that might be interested, but he didn't indicate that Shiloh was actually wanting someone.
That's what,
And they, yeah.
Aaron didn't seem like they were.
We're not aware that Shiloh is looking. I know they've got a new superintendent
Right.
up there, so I don't know. I'm not aware that they're looking for
I
someone.
just-
They approached us the last time, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And that's how we ended up doing that.
Yeah.
Right.
So, as far as I know, no one's approached us
Yeah,
to
Aaron
do
didn't say
that.
anything about it, so.
Okay.
So that's it as far as, and of course, that setback variance that Aaron talked about is on the thing, so. No one else has anything?
There was one other thing. In the
Okay.
paper Saturday, there was a city putting out a bid for, is that the water line that's 4,000 some feet to the safety center? You think, or is
No,
that-
We got the water line out there.
It's
not
the
a water
sewer.
line?
It would be the pump up station,
Yeah,
probably.
that's what
For the
I said.
sewer.
I just wonder what that
How much was, they didn't have a dollar figure?
No, just said, they put it out on bid.
It's a pump up station.
I just wonder, I don't know where it's a water line or what,
No,
it's 4,000 some feet, I think.
Sewer.
Sewer. We've got water line out here.
Okay, I didn't know what it was, just wondered.
Motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Opposed? No. Meeting adjourned.
Anybody want a hairless cat?
There's not a hairless cat organization like there is
No.
for everything else.
I go out there,
Well-
it's always, you can't see it because it's always under the blanket, because the office is air
No.
conditioned.
That's a genetic anomaly that
Yeah,
should
it
have just.
I agree.
Gone away.
It should have, and they're expensive too. They are, and this is not the time